All right, I'm going to go ahead and kick this off. That is actually a great site. I'll probably remember this video for a long time on Indian Trace. Of course, representing the cause of the North American Indian, their political interests, our political interests, but all of it. Very important. Indeed, I am 2 hours plus west of my hunting grounds. But I went out today before I left and look at Uwharrie National Forest, United States Department of Agriculture, leaving. Now, I've just been rolling through it, and we're going to see a little of the countryside here. I have a couple thoughts that came up, really important, as you can check out. We're in Indian land. Side of the highway. Indian land indeed, just looking back through those woods. I have this is a couple of awesome points that I really wanted to share. Love seeing the rocks sticking up through the ground. Just some very curious things to think about in terms of the North American Indian. Looking through the woods. Knowing that we're in the Uwharrie. I think it's how you pronounce it. I think it's a silent W, but I'm not positive. I've heard some people pronounce it. I believe that's the way it is, but I know the place. And before we get going, just to show you, back from where I'm from, towards the east, towards the coast, this right here, and I found a couple things today I just wanted to show you, and we'll move forward. First of all, this was the honor point from the area, West Haven, that I was in today. So let's get this out of the way and just show you this. Of course, what you're looking at is respectively 7,000 years old. This Guilford, just sort of lending, it's so stained, as you can see from the tallow or whatever that they hafted it in, but just lending a Guilford round or Yuma about the same time period. You can say conservatively about 7,000 years old. People, that's debatable, but that's what I believe. So that's the honor point that I brought today. Just an absolutely stellar piece of quartz that I found out there in the same place that I found these today. Now, keeping my train of thought here on the side of the highway, and we're going to get rolling to cover some of the other thoughts that I had today, especially about the assimilation or the distribution of the North American Indian across this country. Uwharrie National Forest, I was just in, which is where the only source of this stone. Now, this is rhyolite. Look at this scraper. You're looking at rhyolite, a stock of it. But 2.5 hours, 2 hours east of here, there's a ton of this stone that they use for artifacts. They don't get it there. You can't get it there. There's a huge vein of rhyolite, just to re-educate some people. If it's a review, it's just a review, but it's a really cool thought. There's a huge vein of this rhyolite located, and the only place located in North Carolina is the Uwharrie National Forest. Preserved lands. There's a huge vein of it, and I mean a huge vein, the whole strip of a mountainside, and it was well occupied by North American Indian. It was a camp, it was a trading zone, it was a place where multiplied dispensations of Indians camped, harvested stone, and that's why I always say when it comes to this rhyolite that they had to get it in there some way or another. That's 13 days foot travel one way just to trade this stone in, or it was traded in. But it is resilient. It worked for them, and rhyolite is a stock stone in eastern North Carolina for artifacts. Of course, quartz there is indigenous. Quartz like this, wasn't going to leave that out there today. Interesting thing about this site is you're going to find a point that arguably is about 7,000 years old. Nice Guilford point. And today I found a teeny triangle. Arguably historic period. It's still in the bag, I think. Another end of the Guilford right here. But the triangle I found today, teeny triangle. Smaller than my nail on my pinky. As we look at some of this stuff. The quartz, of course, is indigenous to where I'm from in eastern North Carolina. The rhyolite, as this, is not. Definitely not. So as I was saying, that teeny triangle, it's still stuck probably in my bag, was made out of quartz, but represents the historic period Indian, very possibly the Mississippian period. That would have been a nice point altogether if they could have worked that up. I don't know if it broke or not. You can see how that works out. Another nice point here. Just gathered it in. A couple other nice pieces made out of a variety of rhyolites and what have you. Just great field artifacts. A lot of this is C4 artifacts you're looking at. Here's a nice turtleback scraper that I found today. Always gotta like those. Great lighting today. It's just worked around the whole edge. Just did the job that they needed it to, which is really cool. Highly admire all the scrapers. They were a really valuable tool. Nice looking pieces. But anyway, wanted to show you those before we get going and before we share a couple thoughts that we have rolling down. I didn't want this to be any other simple place the artifacts on a desk and show what I was able just to gather before I bolted out of town. Wasn't able to take much time at all. I've got to do some teaching and some presenting out west here. Anyway, nice pieces. So, the whole coolest part of it all is that I've never had an understanding of the Uwharrie National Forest as I do now after studying and figuring out where exactly all the rhyolite comes from, that they make so many points. So, I'm thinking about that, and I'm going to get on out here. So I got clear traffic, and we're going to roll down the road just a little bit. Haven't done it before. You haven't been on Indian trails like this, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. Now, because I want to share these thoughts and I want you to see the countryside the way I'm seeing it. This is Indian land, you know, and you've seen posters and what have you, and here's the thought. It was all Indian land. I was discussing with some people, I would like to say, the perversion of bad legislation that keeps a human being from picking up an arrowhead or a spear point or a scraper or a hammerstone when it's sitting in the woods, when it's sitting in the field, and it's going to get battered up in a big bunch of blender, 20,000 pound combine blender that's going to come along and rototill the dirt. See, look at out here. Can you see this river? Don't even know what river it is. Good stuff. Good stuff. I don't know if it's coming in. I'm just turning it sideways, and I wanted to share a couple thoughts as we roll up the highway, and I show you a little of the countryside here because we just left the Uwharrie National Forest. As I'm being redundant, just so everybody gets the points I want to make, I'm going to make an abridgment coming up here. Big truck right behind me wanted to pass. This is going single lane. I'm going to speed up a little bit here. Now, people fishing, what have you. Never made a video like this before. Now, a lot of you guys have out there, whether it's Jonesy or whatever, and he goes in the truck or whatever and actually is filming himself. I'm not going to try to film myself when I'm driving. But some of his rants when he's driving, I love just as much as any video. So I just want you to be able to see some Indian land here in North Carolina. Central, moving west, pretty much central, but it's definitely Indian land. Now, here's the thought about Indian land that I think was really big, really important. See if I can get my phone in the right condition here. There we go. Really important is this. In my area, eastern North Carolina, where I find artifacts, where you see them on Indian trails. Look at this. Spring is coming. The powerful thing is that these artifacts around me, I sort of work as tentacles away from where I live. It just so happens that I work the places I can close to where I live, and I have consolidated 77 ancient Indian sites. Some might have been ambush zones, some might have been places where they actually lived, camps. Some people call them camps. I don't know if this is coming out. Don't want to get my finger in it. Just bear with me for a second here. So, all together, now this is the train of thought. Uwharrie National Forest was a huge place. It's where the name Yadkin came from. It's where, I mean, Guilford came from North Carolina, but those are different points for over here, you know, in this part of the country. With that said, this is Indian land that I'm in, and what's overwhelming is where I am and the tentacles that I have, searching the areas that I can feasibly search around where I live for Indian artifacts. I've unfolded and documented 77 ancient Indian sites. I can bring you there and we'll unfold some artifacts. Just like that I showed you down there on the seat. Focus is terrible, isn't it? I'm sorry. So, here's the thought. Now, the reason this is a mess is because I got an 18-wheeler breathing up my rear from behind that I got to figure out what to do with. I would have taken my time a little bit more, but listen, here's the thought. If indeed where I am in eastern North Carolina was covered with that kind of abundance, where just within my tentacles, where I could get to, where I could get access to, I unfolded 77 secret sites, places that I know. Sure, another couple of fellas know of them here or there, 10 of them or whatever, but I'm the only one that knows the totality of all of them, because I've never seen anyone else close. No one else close. See, what I'm saying is that this is Indian land where I am, just having left Uwharrie National Forest, the production point, the place where all the great stock of rhyolite comes from. So there had to be just as many sites around where I am. And you go across the country and say, well, I just couldn't find a place, don't have a place. Listen, if they're that abundant there, excuse me for the fingers, then something has to be going on where the North American Indian were in numbers vastly more significant in occupation than we have given them modern credit for. Since we're here for the little old 250 plus years or whatever, 200 years, in terms of modern United States of America. I mean, you can argue it from 1500 up, settlers and traders and trappers coming in. If that's the case, getting into the population here, and then I'm going to cut this thing off. Here's the point. A lot of these little towns in North Carolina, if you can see this, it's coming in. Here's the awesome point. It stands to reason that every single place from here to there, with water, with resources, had the same amount of occupation. I can't just think that going back east to where I'm from and finding those 77 sites, that's the only place that happens. Because when I look at it from above, from satellite at all my sites, and I have layering on Google Earth, I can clearly see. Oh my goodness, I stopped. Isn't that funny? Never brought you out in traffic before, no big deal. But it's a really important point. I can clearly see from above in satellite at all my sites that they just simply lay themselves out down the water easements. No problem. We're talking about serious dispensations of occupation. Stretches 100 after 100 after 100 years after 100 years after 1,000 years after another 1,000 years after another 1,000 years of occupation. We're talking about a serious amount of Indian occupation sites and hunting ground. The whole land from here to California, I am convinced, was hunting grounds, was occupational sites, the most prime areas of the land. And then we come into the areas like the Uwharrie National Forest that is preserved land. Many times the national forests, the national parks, I mean the high profile ones such as Yosemite National Park, such as Canyon de Chelly, people know they were taken from the Indian sacred land. Many, many national parks, even the Uwharrie National Forest was taken finally when we figured out a way to best eradicate the North American Indian from those places. And then we wanted to say in memory, in honor of them, we'd set up a national park. Well, it's a dirty little secret, because we were plenty happy, that is, the American people were plenty happy that the North American Indian, that the Indians were out of the way. Then we just used them and set up parks, and many times national interests and state interests decided to confiscate the land. Tough stuff, right? But it was just wild for me to think about moving down this road and knowing that it just stands to reason that occupation right here where I am, if you start to do your work, and huff your butt or found the fields or found the streams, that you would have to find the same occupation relatively if resources were good, if water was good. That's the bottom line. It's mild here. The climate is acceptable to that. Anyway, from Indian Trace to you, I just wanted to let you join the hunt today. Some fun stuff. Because I was able to find some great artifacts here and here. Just some great scrapers that you can see, and some artifacts over there. Don't even know if it's coming in. Excuse me on the focus. I mean, we're riding down the road here. I don't know if I'm getting anything decent. Just holding it over there. That's ridiculous. But we've got good country out here. Water, resources, open road. I wish everybody the best. I hope you find out there. Just bringing you in the open road, give you a little fresh air. Hopefully you can feel it. And bottom line is, hope you find out there. Be well.